think that what's important to the firm to start with is that we're here out of respect for the position that all of you hold. There's two very important considerations. One is the concept of the rights of privacy of all of the employees in the city of Holyoke. And we're certainly never going to be in a position to be on a televised meeting having conversations regarding specific employees out of that setting. The next consideration as far as the firm is concerned, and I'm sure that Attorney
When you say the firm, you mean your firm?
Sullivan, Hazen,
Okay.
I'm sure Attorney McGee, and I'm sure yourself as an attorney, you're aware of the canons of ethics. And this order speaks to questions about attorneys who carry those ethics. And we contacted the Office of Bar Counsel and the Board of Bar Overseers, and we're respectfully before you following that call, asserting that we have to uphold privilege and confidentiality. And to the extent that you have exceedingly specific questions, whether we have the answers or we don't, the comments from the Board of Bar Overseers, Office of Bar Counsel, was that we must come forward, particularly in a public setting, and we must be true to the canons of ethics and assert the privilege.
All right, so let's talk about what's inside the scope of the privilege and what's not. Certainly, we can have a conversation about the merits, the demerits, or the rationale leading up to why this type of an agreement was given. What's the rationale for it? But I want to deal with the legal procedure as to allows you the authority to even, one, have an agreement like this, and two, what legal authority do you have, or the mayor have for that matter, to take personnel services funds from these line items in the law department and give them to Heather in the absence of work performed. So we need to lay the foundation way before we can ever talk to this is why or why not we gave Heather this as a good idea. We're not even there yet. That's not even really at this point part of it. I want to touch on what authority did you and the mayor have to give her a buyout in the first place?
Are you suggesting that there's a perception that Sullivan, Hayes, and Quinn has some authority, and that that's something that we're asserting a privilege over?
What I'm saying is that I spoke to the Sarah Carroll and Kara Cunha in our law department, and I asked who is specifically gave the legal advice to the mayor to conduct this transaction. They said that they were recused and that you were specifically the person that gave legal advice to the mayor about this transaction and the putting together of this transaction. Is that not accurate?
One of the questions that we presented to the Office of Bar Counsel was if there were situations that we could speak to at any scope of it and continue to uphold our obligations regarding privilege. And we were repeatedly advised to come here and respectfully assert that we are required to uphold the privilege.
Taking taxpayer money is not inside the privilege. What authority do you have to advise the mayor, or does he have to conduct a transaction that took $45,000 of taxpayer money from the two personnel services account? What ordinance, law, or whatever are you citing that gives you the authority to even have the transaction? The privilege speaks to it, and you correct me where I'm wrong, speaks to what is the confidential statements that relate to the merits, the demerits of why we did this or why we granted this. But I want to know is, what authority do you even have to even have a transaction like this under current law in the city of Holyoke? That's what I want to know.
I don't believe that Sullivan, Hayes, and Quinn has ever asserted to anyone anything about ordinance or statutory authority. What I'm saying to you is that we have been advised by the Office of Bar Counsel to come here and very respectfully assert the privilege.
How is that question as to what? So you're saying the Office of Bar Counsel says that the mayor can give away $45,000 of our taxpayer money to someone, and we're not allowed to question, and you're going to assert a privilege as to the mayor and yourself that we're not going to answer as to what authority we have to even have a transaction like that? How does the mayor just give that away? Or is that, what authority does he have to do that? That's under the privilege? I can't see how that's possibly under the privilege. Explain to me how that would be under the privilege.
Attorney Jourdain, I don't know how else to respond.